Oh, hey guys. Welcome back to the desk. We're sitting around waiting for the grand finals to start up here. It's going to be Onslaught in a rematch versus Elevate. One that we've seen several times, honestly, throughout history. NA versus NA, always in the finals, except for last time. So
I'm
forget
sorry,
about that
I'm
one.
still too caught up on the fact that I'm motion control flank Tyra right now.
Motion control flank Tyra.
With that in mind, folks, it's going to be a really tough one. We saw this set yesterday. It is a best of 5 right now. We do have the potential of a bracket reset to come through, so there's a lot that could happen here. Onslaught, of course, took the full versus Elevate one game and then came back with 2 in a row yesterday. And the big difference, I think, and the big difference maker yesterday was the ability for them to draft this triple DPS composition and just break through everything that Elevate was trying to do defensively with their healing compositions.
And one of the things you were actually mentioning right before we got into this was the fact that, especially for this last set, we were kind of missing things that we've seen that were just tearing through shields yesterday, specifically Victor and Vivian, which have been relatively big for Onslaught.
Right, and one of the things which was missing is, again, this sap around Vivian. One thing that Onslaught likes to do a lot is trying to break down these shields very easily. You don't want to invest heavily into itemization. You want to be able to maybe go for something more defensive. You also don't want to have to wait till late game to be able to break through your opposition defenses, because by that time, Elevate can kind of just sweep you off the board. They can potentially 4-0 with their sustain-based compositions, and as a result, these priority picks, it's not just the anti-heal inbuilt, it's the anti-shield inbuilt, which is huge here, Gore.
Well, Elevate were able to kind of give us their feelings and their thoughts as to the way this set is going to go, or potentially 2 sets if they go the way they want it to. But Onslaught were also able to give us their thoughts, so let's go ahead and hear what they had to say.
Hey guys, from Onslaught, you are in the essentially grand finals, and how does it feel just going into today's set?
Good. We're feeling good. We played really well yesterday. We fell one map, and we bounced back a lot better than last lane appearance.
So my big question before we begin also is, are we gonna see any Ruckers play today? I mean, we've been missing that the entire LAN. We've seen the Victor and the Vivian, but no Ruckers so far.
Unfortunately not. Right now in console, Ruckus is in a spot that we're not really comfortable with, and Wonderful has no reason to want to touch that character after all of his appearances, so unfortunately not.
Fair enough. On a more serious note then, how do you feel about all these healing compositions that we saw coming out yesterday, and how are you really getting on to tackle them? Are you picking like the anti-heal champions? Is that the style on console, or is it all about a different strat?
That was a new style we've seen. We haven't seen anything like that on Xbox. We've seen it in the past. Elevate used to run that forever. So it's just about remembering how to play against it and playing aggressive and, like you said, getting those anti-heal champions.
Is there any reason you see yourselves not going home with the trophy today?
Honestly, I don't see us losing 2 best of 5s. I feel like our team adapts really well after losing to something, and we just basically draft in a way that allows us to perform in the best possible way when we leave most of the champions open, so there's nothing that they can counter on our draft, so I don't see us losing.
All right, gentlemen. Well, good luck today, and we hope to see you at the trophy ceremony.
Thank you.
Adapting on the fly and drafting are the 2 things that I think...
That's a smite play, not Paladins, Gore.
Are the 2 things that I think are really, really important for a lot of these teams. One of the things Elevate just showcased throughout their entire set is their strength in drafting, but Onslaught don't seem too worried about leaving anything open.
I don't as well. Onslaught can kind of flex between a lot of different things. They're probably not going to play this healing-based composition, which we've seen coming out of Elevate, but they know how to be able to deal with it, Gore. I think a big part of this, though, is going to be the map selection. We saw them perform very well on less compact maps yesterday, where they have maybe more line of sight, so I wonder where we're going to go to start this off.
Honestly, first map, well, we actually have it, so we can go ahead and look through that and see where we will be taking the trip to. It's going to be interesting to see how these 2 teams come about each other. Again, this is going to be a best of 5. If Elevate win, they can push this to another best of 5 since it's double elimination. But Onslaught, they have 3 games with a potential of 10 to win out of, so they have to be able to take it. And we're going to be starting off on Bright Marsh.
So Frog Isle as well as Ice Mines banned out. Ice Mines is kind of the default ban for a lot of these teams.
Yes,
also,
please.
Frog Isle, a lot of console players just don't like it because it's so open and you have to play very specific compositions. You either have to play heavy into point stack, or you've got to go full flank to be able to control these objectives. So, with Elevate having first ban here, they're taking away the Janos. This was a big enable pick for Onslaught yesterday to allow them to run triple DPS. Removing that is going to be important.
Moji, once again, being first ban here for the
Shocking.
second team, which I think is going to be a showcase of what we saw only one game of yesterday, where Moji makes it through. That is the game Elevate won against Onslaught. She was a monster on that.
Now this is really interesting. Elevate, with having Furia banned out, have picked the Furia first pick in the twice in a row in the last set, right? So they're going for the Willow first overall here. They're not going for stuff like the Khan, so we might end up seeing this Grok come out again. This does give Onslaught the opportunity to maybe draft a Khan, maybe draft a Lian as well, which we've seen be very effective versus the Willow, or invest immediately into something like Vivian, maybe even Makoa here. There are a lot of different options, and it will actually be that displacement potential from Dredge Anchor, which is valued. Although with the opportunity for CC immunity to come through Gore, I'm expecting the value to more come from Leviathan Ancient Rage here than anything else.
Well, one of the things you were mentioning actually during that last set when we went to Bright Marsh was the fact that with Willow and maybe getting a couple other champions here for Elevate that are going to be a little bit more high ground oriented, you need something that pulls them down. Elevate were the ones that were pulling things down. This time you have that Dredge Anchor immediately.
Also look at this, you have a Grover who can vine up to the high ground. This is something which we saw happen a lot for Flashpoint last game. Didn't pay out too well in the end, but at least it allowed them to control the upper edges of this map. Khan then hovered by Elevate. They could go into double CC immunity here if they want to do Firing Line Khan as well as Totemic Ward Grok. We'll see if that pays off.
Really curious. Elevate in their last interview were actually saying how Grok is one of those champions that he's a really niche pick, and you can really only pick him if they pick the champions that you want them to pick. There were a lot of picks in his sentence, but it's that awkward spot of how do you guide Onslaught, in this case, towards picks that are going to be good for the Grok?
Well, specifically, you want to not pick frontline. You want Onslaught to invest into typically what is strong frontline on this map. That's stuff like Treacherous Ground and Nara. It's things like Makoa. Onslaught, though, will they be baited into it? I would actually like to see them do something a little bit different here. Typically, we see Bright Marsh played, especially with a double frontline composition of you have a point tank, and you have an off tank that goes and kind of roams around the map and flanks and helps put pressure onto the enemy backline, so you can draw attention away from maybe like a Xin pick or a Buck pick, for example, which we're seeing hovered here. I'd like to see Onslaught maybe look for an early Fernando here, but actually it looks like the Inara is going to be what they're stabilizing with. Again, falling more into the typical, you know what, we're going to run the point tank anyway situation.
And being able to set it up, do you think having Inara, and with Grover, who isn't necessarily known for his high amount of healing, do you think that's going to be enough to keep her alive on the point?
I think it's enough. Inara can invest heavily into Rejuvenate, as well as the passive healing bonus from Earthen Guard whilst active. It's enough to make use of the efflorescence, right? It's enough to give you this consistent healing throughput. It's also enough for you to be able to reduce anti-heal unless you're in dead zone and make good use of potentially a massive burst heal. But here's the difficulty. Fernando not actually taken. It's Stigala versus Stigala, but Elevate do draft into their Grok. We're seeing a remarkably similar composition to what we saw on Frozen Guard versus Flashpoint in the previous set, with a Maldamba instead of a Furia. Arguably a very equivalent healing throughput, especially on the objective with Gordon Mending Spirits. Onslaught, they draft into a last pick Tyra that is immediately locked in here, Gore. Now, with Grok on the field and Khan, this is unlikely to be Burn Monster, but can you imagine the amount of damage potentially coming through from a hunting party here?
I mean, there's a lot in terms of being able to get anti-heal, a lot of damage. We
Oh, yeah.
just saw Elevate due to a Terminus on this map, what they're hoping won't happen to them. But with the way things have been going, Vox, I mean, between these two drafts, who do you have?
I gotta say Onslaught, based on the performance that we saw yesterday, and also, I gotta root for the Tyra pick, man.
Well, Onslaught's your favorite. I honestly have to give it to him with the way things went yesterday. They seem prepared. But let's go ahead and see how it's going to go with the casters taking it into Game 1.
Thank you, Gore Miser, Le Tigers, and Nick here for your finals, the grand finals.
That's right.
So remember to vote. Who do you think is going to take game number 1? Who do you think is going to take
It's hard to go against the Tyra. I definitely feel Vox on that one, especially when you look at all the clumping that has to happen for Elevate to be successful. I think Onslaught are definitely looking at what went right for Elevate yesterday and what has continued to go right for them on this map. They like to death ball up. They like to get a lot of momentum going, in the firebomb, the Molotov cocktail, if you will, from Tyra will help shut that all down.
During the last set, Vox had made the comment, we haven't seen any Tyra in Bright
Phoenix will
Marsh.
be proud.
This is one place that you do like to see that pick, and it's Cold Mat on it.
You got to be careful not to throw it into the Power Siphon, though. Any sort of projectile attacks that come in contact with Power Siphon are just removed from the game space.
Just stuck right out, but it's still 24% for Elevate because of the fact that they could keep any of the damage off of that point,
Wow.
even with that good old damage or healing reductions are onto the objective. Still
This
climbing
weapon
really.
sounds pretty cool. I actually haven't had the chance to play with this skin. I don't get around to much Tyra these days. Trensic Skeppy pick up a couple kills. was a slow but sure march towards victory for the Onslaught boys.
Yeah, Onslaught 51%.
Wow.
Trensic with a double kill, looking to follow up. Coolmat picks one up for himself. A singular trade for Sir James Parker as he takes down Skeppy. But nonetheless, it's objective control for Onslaught right now.
Look at Wonderful getting very aggressive there, and we're going to have a quick pause, come out. Hopefully everything's all right in there. And if it has to be a remake, I suppose it's good that it comes through in the first minute of game rather than when it's 3-1.
It's going to happen at any point in time. I would much prefer.
Got to pick the early game.
Well, because I was thinking yesterday how everything except the first set went to game 3, but then we had the set that basically had the extra game, so it almost was max games in the end. But so far, we'll be going back into it. No remake as far as I know, which is great to hear.
God bless. Wonderful getting hyper-aggressive here. Holding everything down for Onslaught. Now that they've captured the payload, I actually want to take a quick minute, just take a peek at some of the talents that are picked up here, because we do have, obviously the Tyra coming in. She's not going to be very common here. Firing line, Totemic Ward, Spirit's Chosen, Crush, Nightshade, all that good stuff. Up first, Burn Monster for Tyra. Pretty standard across the board there. Tyra, of course, she's going to be looking to throw her firebombs on top of the Grok Totem, forcing everyone out there. Not only does the firebomb have innate anti-heal to it, but it just does copious amounts of damage with that talent.
Oh, a downtown seismic crash gets a stun onto Neil, which results in his own demise. Another double kill from Trensic, pretty similar to what we saw before, followed up by a kill from Coolmat, but it's 62% for Onslaught, 38% for Elevate.
Pretty close. Yesterday, I think the split initially was something like 56-44-ish.
We had one vote that was 50-50.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Mixer chat very rarely agrees on anything, except for the best condiments, apparently. That was like a 70% sour cream vote.
Yeah, I think I had it full screen during that time, so I didn't see the actual people, what they had to say about those condiments in the chat, but hey, to each their own. Onslaught, though, right now with Trensic activating the Ancient Rage, a few swings onto Sir James Parker, finds another target, gets the hook onto the Maldamba, and then one last hit to take him down as well, but it is 2-for-2 trade. Another one falls for Elevate.
Yeah, but I thought they were just going to walk away from the payload and let Elevate or Onslaught roll that one through. Coolmat pulls the triple kill. Shell Shield goes up. They're trying to keep Coolmat safe, but the respawn proximity advantage, this is literally it when we talk about it. Elevate are not winning this fight, but the simple fact that they can reinforce it so much quicker because their spawn is right above the payload just makes it so hard for Onslaught to win if they don't get a clean victory.
And then ultimates like Reanimate are pretty much built to buy that time for the rest of the team to hop down from that location. So with 30 seconds to go, that is still plenty of time for Onslaught to bring it through, though they only have one ultimate. Already 60% onto that Ancient Rage, though, and Coolmat taking this angle out through the window.
Oh, baby.
All she wrote as Onslaught push it in for their second point.
The overpower comes through. He tries to throw Wonderful off the map. I think it's the right call there in the split-second decision. Basically, Wonderful goes into his seismic crash. He stops himself from flying off the map midair. He would have been able to come back into that fight, but it basically ended, right? As he's midair, the fight was over. So Wonderful makes the good reactionary play. In the grand scheme of that fight and all the context clues, you didn't really need to do it. But I think you forced Elevate into so much. Reanimate is down, Dread Serpent is down, Overpower is down, Tempest and Faith Flight. I'll be damned if those two ultimates win this fight. I think Onslaught are in a good spot.
There was a little less time on the clock when that Reanimate and such came out than Elevate would have been just fine defending, but Onslaught was able to make the most of that remaining. Here's the Faith Flight to kick things off. Trensic standing in that anti-heal. Shell spins away to find himself in safety. Nice heal coming out from Grok and facing off against this enemy Khan.
That's beautiful. It's a lot of healing just for this Khan, though. The Grok Tempest comes out as well. No Ancient Rage available here, so this Mako is going to drop. That's a 17 streak shut down. Gabby, that gives Terminus his ultimate.
One of the slowest ultimates now 100% because of that elimination. 46% for Elevate as well, so if they need to send him towards the objective, and even with a bit of riskiness to his play, they can handle that situation. But here's another ultimate that we talked about, Coolmat throwing it onto the high ground to take down this Willow. A couple shots should do it, and the double kill for the Tyra.
I think you need to take it easy now, Coolmat. He's sitting behind Grover. He's in a good position now, but he is the majority of the damage of this team fight now. He has to stay safe. Wonderful doing a good job taking it up. Wonderful's just barely going to live there. Cool Matt rotates through and picks up the double.
Look at that burn down. 2 doubles for the team.
Wow.
Skeppy picking up a couple onto this buck. Streaks ablaze across Onslaught. Finally dishes the damage to Cool Matt. But nonetheless, it's Onslaught that are controlling this objective right now.
You know, that play from SJP says a lot, right? They are down. They're down pretty big at this point. They're about to go down 3-0 unless somebody can get in here. Overpower comes through to pull Grover off the objective and stop the capture for Onslaught.
That's one way to go ahead and stem it, but Elevate 99% to 99% misses this hook and still in pursuit of the Grok, who has his own escape mechanism of Fae Flight on the outer range, but gets blasted away. Onslaught still able to capture.
There it is, and the cannon shots will continue to fire away. Shu falls down 3-0. Like I was saying, though, the fact that SJP is not afraid to still get in there, take those 1v1, honestly, that became a 1v2 very, very quickly. And recognize, you know, we still have opportunities to win fights here, get kills, do what we need to do to show up. We don't want to get 4-0'd on this map. This has been such a good map for us all tournament long. We need to have some type of presence here.
Elevate was legitimately just on this map moments ago where they got their victory to get themselves into the grand finals. But still, Onslaught are showing the proudest reason that they have yet to drop a set within this bracket. A whole minute and 45 seconds to go on this push, and they're already at about 70%. Ancient Rage swings away. Skeppy gets the kill onto Whoosh. The double kill once again for the Buck player. Make that a triple. Atomic Boom does punish him, though. Takes him out of the equation, but a delayed response as it is the trade.
He gets in a position to pop his reanimate, but doesn't. Atomic Boom's going to hold on to that this time. It looks like it might be the end here, possibly. If they can bring this con down, that's it.
Oh, the Dread Serpent barely impacting the Mako as he rotates back in. Cool Matt, somebody needs to look in his direction. Trensic picks up another. A nice little stun from Atomic Boom, and the Seismic Crash comes down as well. A Whirlwind keeps everybody alive. Wonderful, Skeppy. Everyone picking up those kills, but the Reanimate keeps Elevate in it. Only 3 members alive is not enough to stop Onslaught.
What a steamroll there from Onslaught. 4-0 on Elevate's map pick. They were electing to come to Bright Marsh, and it just didn't go their way. So now the way that this set works, Onslaught now gets a guaranteed map pick as well, so they get to go wherever they want, put their best foot forward, already a game up. At that point, it'll go to loser's pick for game 3, which we will see because this is a best of 5. You can see Elevate, you know, definitely communicating about what potentially could have gone better there for them, but they don't look too defeated. They are still talking, and that's the biggest thing. If a team, you know, stops talking, stops communicating with one another, they're out of it.
It's still rough stuff, though, a 4-0 from your opponent, but you do just have to, you know, brush it off at that point. Who do you think was the MVP of that game? I think there was a lot of cool performances. We got to see the Tyra busted out, though.
I think I know who's going to win it based on Mixer Chat, but I think I know who really deserves it there. I'm not going to sway the vote or say much there, but I think there was a lot of great performances from a couple of members on Onslaught there, and I think everyone definitely deserves credit.
Oh, yes. Onslaught proving why they are here in the grand finals. That's just game number 1, though. Desk, what did you think?
They didn't give us a lot to work with. By the time I finished notes for round 1, the game was done.
Pretty much. Blink and you miss it, right? And also, just quick shout, if you're not voting for Cool Matt and Tyra in the MVP poll, then you are just entirely lost to me.
There actually, someone I wanted to mention was Cool Matt, just because Cool Matt is at this point technically his first LAN here with Onslaught and is not playing like it. He is playing like he has been playing Paladins for years, like it's just another walk in the park.
And also, back to that Tyra pick as well, it was interesting to see the talent pickup of Burn Monster, not the hunting party that we talked about. And my expectation going into this is that, you know, maybe the... And as we find out, Cool Matt is actually MVP, folks, but maybe the Burn Monster has less efficacy here than Hunting Party based on the amount of crowd control reduction that comes through from this squad with the Totemic Wood Grok and also the Firing Line Khan. Not the case, because actually just by using Firebomb, you can prompt them to burn their crowd control reduction. You apply area anti-heal with your Firebomb, and then those abilities that were so detrimental to Flashpoint in the previous set are already off the table, and they're able just to play with this cripple field around.
I'll be 100% Vox. If there were, I want to say 2 people on Onslaught to give this to, Cool Matt was probably my number 1. Chinzik would have been my number 2. At the end of the first round, he was 9-0-8. The way these two were playing against each other, and very specifically the way Cool Matt was being protected, they were human shields for him on the side of Onslaught to the point where he never really felt like he was in danger. Even the points where he felt like he might have been in danger, it was kind of like half danger. It wasn't even that scared.
Pretty much, and that's what a good frontline can do for your team, right? Or a good frontline duo, is they really enable your squad to just kind of free fire. That's a damage dealer's dream right there, is uncontested hold right trigger on that controller and do not let go. Perfect play coming out so far from Onslaught then as well. Elevate, it's their chance to bounce back, and I feel like they've got to diversify their comps a little bit here, Gore.
I mean, with the way things were going, you could kind of feel, I think, what they wanted to do, but just based on the last set for that game. And again, things that happened in that for round 1, I think it applies for round 2. Oof. Like, it was just never a point where you could see Elevate taking the fight. Even when they were winning it, it was more, well, we happen to be pouring out of our base, dumping bodies into your lap, hoping that it'll stall you for a little bit, and then it didn't.
Pretty much. Going into this Gore as well, then, I want to see the Grok pick go at this point. I don't think the Grok pick is going to be central enough to the rest of the compositions to really go toe-to-toe with the sheer damage output that's coming through from Onslaught. So I want to see them start to, again, diversify their compositions. I want to see them invest a bit more, elevate into area damage, blast damage. Maybe not necessarily the Willow, but also look towards the Bomb King, which is very impactful. If you're taking that CCR from Khan, all of a sudden, the Bomb King also becomes very useful for your team. The firing line buffed damage is very impactful, but also the Grumpy Bomb as well.
Well, as Nick had said, that was actually going to be where Elevate had wanted to take this. So now we're going to see where Onslaught actually want to go with their map. And honestly, I think that's a more frightening thought than anything. You're going in from your map now to their map. And if you're, Elevate at this point, maybe shaking a little bit. Again, talking towards the end of that game, which I think is the most important. They're not down completely yet, mentally still in it.
So, Stone Keep, this was a big map yesterday where we saw the set conclude, Gore, as well. We saw the Vivian and the Victor pull off. We almost saw a Skeppy pentakill to be stolen away by Trinsic right at the end there as well.
That, I think, is a little bit more worrisome with the way things go as well, because you're coming into this, and again, you're looking at 2 picks that yesterday were so huge, and today haven't had too much of an impact. But again, you're looking at Onslaught being able to drive the draft. They can kind of lead you, like, go ahead, take Makoa. Go ahead, take the shielding. Take Furia.
Right,
whatever.
we'll just deal with it. And by that as well, they're actually taking away the Bomb King. Maybe they're listening to what we're saying here on Death Score, though we know that's not even possible. But they're taking away the Bomb King. They want to deny Elevate the opportunity to use good blast damage here. And with first pick potential, they can maybe get a Willow on their team as well if they feel that's necessary. But look at this. Khan taken off the board, no firing line CC immunity. If Elevate want to run a similar composition, they're going to be forced into Grok, which has been proven just to not be as effective on this map.
A lot that Onslaught, honestly, again, they said during their interview, they don't really mind leaving their draft a little open. They don't mind letting you even pick up something that would count technically as a counter with the way things have been going. So Elevate having to think very heavily about what they want to go for here. It's going to be the Makoa, which to me, again, makes sense. You're going to take out arguably the best tank. I want to say left after Khan. I think I'd put those two on the same level, but with Makoa, if he fell into the hands of Onslaught, it'd be deadly.
You know, this does also leave Drogoz open for the first time in a few games here, Gore, especially actually today. Drogoz has been banned out consistently through much of the previous set and this set, so looking at this to come in, we saw a couple different split playstyles yesterday. We saw a bit of Fusillade and also a bit of Combustible. The Fusillade playstyle on console seems to have more of an impact for me. You've got that little bit of aim assist which does help you land these direct shots, and with the less ability to maneuver and react and do these quick 180 dash away plays, it's very, very lethal. But Elevate this time around, they're able to draft themselves a Janos, they're able to draft themselves a Willow. We could see a completely different Elevate here if they decide to go into a triple DPS comp.
Yeah, Janos, having made it through, I think he's been banned out for several games today as well. So finally being picked up, Drogoz, though, like you said, has a lot of flexibility in it. We saw a lot of Combustible during our PC land, but Fusillade still hits just as hard. It's always the easy fallback.
Look at this as well now. With Janos being taken and prioritized early by Elevate, also possibly a counter pick because they know that Janos will enable Onslaught's composition if they do draft triple DPS. Onslaught grab Inara and Furia. That's an immortal Inara that we're looking at right now. Dead zones from Willow will need to be used on the objective if you want to kill her. And if you're prioritizing that, you're not prioritizing the backline damage that Nightshade can provide for you with that 800 burst.
And if you're looking at the point, that also maybe opens up the potential for a Buck to jump around. It gives him a little bit more opportunity, although, again, I'm not sure if it's worth the risk of trying to run the Buck into the anti-heal.
I don't feel like the Buck is going to be an Onslaught pick either. They've preferred this linear damage. They like the Victor, they like the Tyra, they like the Vivian here. They don't necessarily like this flank potential quite as much, unless we might see a Xin come through to put backline pressure on, which is your safe pick overall, right? You make line of sight and Billow, Furia heals you back up to full, you get a second life, and then maybe you're able to find a frag here. So Elevate, they need a frontline online. If we're looking at what can potentially provide you with good solo frontline sustain, Inara's already gone, but Barak is available as well, and this to me looks like Elevate is telegraphing a triple DPS composition right here. Barak is very survivable, very safe with Bowling Ball and fail-safe loadouts that we've seen coming through recently. Buck can heal himself back up again. Not a ton of anti-heal on Onslaught's composition either. Elevate are picking themselves, or allowing themselves to potentially last pick a damage dealer or flank here if necessary. Maybe the Xin, maybe an answer to something like a Victor or a Vivian that might come out from Onslaught here.
Tell me if you agree, but for me, Elevate's draft here feels very much like a Fnatic style draft, right? Where you're coming in, you're just like, we know we can run this, we're just going to out-damage you, you can't survive what we're going to throw.
The problem is, I think that Onslaught are fully ready to go toe-to-toe with that. I gotta agree with you, it does look similar to a Fnatic draft that we've seen from PC so far, but Onslaught just go, okay, well, we'll pick the Victor again, we're going to have these barrages potentially coming onto you, we could have a Gunnery Victor for the long damage, we could have potentially a Firefight Victor if they're worried about the Buck coming in and boxing in. We've already seen how devastating Victor can be when enabled by a Ceres just to fight through this onslaught of damage and go toe-to-toe with players like Buck or champions like Buck. With the Furia as well for extra shield on top of it, it'll be very difficult for flanks to find efficacy against a Victor pick here, especially if they want to go for up-close, just shred damage here.
Onslaught really running with the flexibility, being able to have multiple talents on at least 2 champions as of right now, potentially a third depending on what they want to go in for their last pick. But if Victor does come through, again, looking at what happened yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Victor and Vivian, although they're going to be kind of hovering over both.
Well, I like the Vivian a little bit more here. She has the ability to use a deflector shield to protect her a little bit from flank pressure, so Buck is slightly less effective in these situations. And also, Saparounds is free wrecker, right? You're just able to burn Barak down, and this is the pick which I feel a little bit uneasy about, because I'm looking towards Skye and I'm going, what is effective with Skye right now? What are her talents which you're going to see picked up? We might see surprise attack for this backline damage and the kill potential coming through. We might see Smoke and Dagger, which is very effective at just dealing area denial and anti-flank potential. I don't think we're really going to see anything else coming through. I don't expect a Debilitate Skye to be coming out because there aren't big health pools that you want this Poison Bolts to be really effective with. So I'm looking at this as the, well, hey, we want to be able to take out the Willow. We want to burst them down or at least scare them out of the fight, right? But my argument here is, well, why not a Maeve? Why not a Xin, which has been a very effective pick so far? The Maeve I don't mind so much on this map, and I don't mind it into the big health pool of Buck, because Street Justice can be potentially very useful, but overall, I feel like a Xin pick is just a little bit safer here for Onslaught.
It's just one of those things. I was personally kind of hoping for the Skye, but that's only because I've been saying for like 3 days now that she is the one pick that will come through, she'll have one game, she'll do really well in one game, and that's going to be the last we see of her. She's not going to get banned, she's not going to get picked again, but it's not going to be that option. Instead, it will be the Victor over Vivian, and potential for the Maeve. No, it's going to be Vivian as well, so it's going to be the double Vs once again.
All right, okay. No flank potential coming through then, just straight up pressure. Onslaught have put confidence in this yesterday on Stone Keep. I believe that they have the confidence to do it again. Elevate last pick a damage dealer. Maybe not what we expected. I almost wondered if we were going to see double flank coming through with something like Buck and Xin. But they go for the Cassie, and I feel like this is a pretty safe pick from Elevate. This isn't going for the all-in investment of picking double flank. This is them going, you know what, we want to be able to box you out from range, and our burst damage that Cassie can provide is a little bit more effective at dealing with a Victor and a Vivian when you're not up close and fall off is in play, Gore.
Well, after yesterday's performance on Cassie, I'm excited to see what Elevate are going to be able to accomplish with this, but after the way Onslaught played yesterday and just now, I'm excited to see how game number 2 goes. So Gabby, Nick, go ahead and take it away.
That was a lot of time taken for them to go back to the Vivian Victor draft.
To what we knew it was going to be all along, essentially.
From the top of the draft is, oh, they're the only ones that have picked Stone Keep. And then they brought both Vivian and Victor twice, I believe, now within this bracket. And then the only reason I was wanting this guy just for the fact that Gore said going into this, the fact that he's like, oh, it's console. Maybe we'll see it at some point. But also don't forget to vote for who you think is going to take game number 1. Who are you liking?
It's pretty tried and true from Onslaught. I think the thing that's giving me the most confidence is how confident they were, especially in their post-game interview. They were just like, really the reason we run those picks is because, you know, I had this whole like technical theory about why, you know, is it harder to dive on, you know, when you have all this DPS in the back line and they're all kind of clumped up together. He's like, nah, we're just kind of more comfortable with it. It's really just a cool mat saying, oh, I want to play Victor. I love Victor. Skeppy had an incredible game on Victor here yesterday. And he will be piloting the Drogos, though he is one of the more flexible DPS players on the console, and one of the few that plays Blaster for Onslaught.
Wonderful's back on the Vivian, though. Clearly a pick that's in his pocket. Early access to the objective, 27% in climbing. Finally, first blood goes in the favor of Elevate, but Skeppy picks it up onto Whoosh.
That's a good start for Shu. I'm worried for him because this is going to be a very hard composition to dive onto. When we saw this composition from Onslaught, nothing came out from this buck on their opponent's side. But fortunately for them, not only has Shu been able to shift gears away from Grok, which he's run the majority of the tournament, which is such a vastly different play style than Buck, he's actually started to find some success on it.
Even though the poll seems to be going a bit more in the favor of Onslaught as time goes on, Elevate do manage to get quite a few kills right there to punish Onslaught and make their presence be known as soon as Barrett comes back into it. Genos also, because he's been banned out and just not played as much, we're finally getting to see him since it was earlier on, but Atomic Boom gets a kill.
Bit of an uncharacteristic mistake there from Coolmat, just the indecision, Gabriel. You can't have that indecision when you're playing Victor. You have to go all the way in or all the way out. This 180 turning back and forth, especially on console, is not going to work out for him.
Wowza, Onslaught keep losing players after players. Sir James Parker popping off on the Cassie. Which strong player? Cassie is one of those that can silently come through and just get a lot of kills and Elevate, pick up a point.
SJP tends to do it with some style, and against a Victor and a Vivian, he's going to be able to do it. As long as Deflector shield is down, he really shouldn't have a problem deleting most of these backliners. They're going to be fairly immobile, like you saw. Their only way in is to go through, so they have to stand relatively still. SJP's not going to be missing any of his burst combos on Victor or Vivian.
And that was just a difficult situation for Trensic right there. You have shots coming from the back from SJP, but you're looking towards those that are pushing onto the point. And Drogo's action to take down the Cassie player, but Elevate, a little difficulty moving this forward. They lose a couple, but they have plenty of time on the clock.
And again, Shu, it's gonna be tough for him. I think he's done phenomenal given the hand he's been dealt so far. But this game, I think, is going to be won or lost with SJP's Cassie. So much rides on this Luminary Cassie. No one else has really run the pick as effectively as SJP this tournament. He needs to be the one to step up and pop off.
And coming into this side corridor, he can easily pop out to find those angles, but some cover as well. Try and take advantage of the high ground, since whoever gets control of that, it makes it much easier to pass through that archway. But there's the Vivian ultimate getting activated, as well as the Fae Flight. Starts to throw down some seedlings. Where's your...
Why is that seedling there?
Yeah, I wanted to put seedlings with my team. They needed a little bit of company, but no. Now just down.
There's the long distance pick. That's the most important part of Stonekeep right there, Gabriella, and they've already accomplished it.
Skeppy gets that kill, but Elevate, they're pushing this through. 53 seconds to go, and lots of ultimates online for Onslaught. And then Elevate got a couple in their arsenal as well. A heavy damage sent by this Drogo's. One shot away from death, and SJP finds it.
That's it. That's not a guaranteed kill for SJP. That is a risky roll in there. He does it. He pulls it off as well, and he finds a long distance pick on a Coolmat, still laying his finger on the trigger there. That's the type of aggression that's going to win Elevate this game.
It's all about trusting your shot. He had a lot of faith in the fact that he would be able to quickly pull that trigger and achieve that goal. Skeppy goes down once again. Dome shield, the last attempt to push this through. And Elevate get the 2-0.
That's necessary or not could be debated forever on that dome shield. But I think it's definitely, if you pop it, that's going to be a guaranteed point there, and that's what Elevate want to do. They want to come out, they want to make that statement. You could see Wonderful getting ready to drop down, not only to contest the payload, but he was about done destroying that barricade from Barrack anyway, so he knew he was going to be able to just plow right through that tiny frontline HP pool after the fact. And I think he just gets baited out by a nice dome shield from Whoosh there. 2-2 and 3. Everyone from Elevate honestly having a solid round there, but SJP 7-2. He's at the top of the leaderboards. I'm very impressed again to give Shu a lot of credit here. 6-3 against a composition that we saw a buck fall flat on its face yesterday. So he is much improved over the European bucks that had to deal with this Onslaught Victor Vivian backline.
Their time and space to kick things off, though, gets the kill onto the enemy support, leaves an opening for Shu to rotate, and a good heavy shot into Coolmat. Now turns his attention over to Wonderful, who has a little bit of high ground, but is still only a couple shots from death. Atomic Boom is there to help with that anti-heal, so a double kill for the Willow.
That's a really good shot there from Atomic Boom. That had to be threaded up through the staircase from the bottom floor of the keep. Not an easy thing to do. It's very easy, especially with a large projectile like Willow's, to get that caught on any of the given stairs. He's going to pop his Fae Flight, put a little bit of pressure on here. No comeback mechanic, no problem. Elevate look like they've just wrapped up their second offense.
Going completely uncontested, 0-100 as they get their third point. The Buck Wild so they can get some early leeway as well. Facing off against Wonderful once again as Atomic Boom, SJP, and Shu all pick up kills for themselves.
Wow.
And SJP gets the double. Constant pressure onto Skeppy's Drogos.
They're playing so well at the moment. SJP's getting so aggressive. He hasn't died this round. He's got to be verging on a 5 KD at this point. 7 streak. Burning up, and exactly that. 10-2-10 for Sir James Parker. 22 streak for Neil on Genos.
Lots of streaks going for Elevate. And when you're at this 3-0, you're already past that 50% mark. You're about to approach that final turn into that hard choke point. But Wonderful starting to try to throw it back a little bit, take advantage of this high ground in your defensive area. Trensic picks up a kill as well, but SJP has to find some cover because it took way too much damage.
He will be able to roll out of there, but small consolation prize as his team is still going to lose this fight for the most part. Trying to fight for the high ground here. That's the name of the game. Skeppy's Fire Spit will not connect. The Seedling goes out. Doesn't find too much damage either. Boom just looking for a way up here. Wonderful. Eats a ton of damage from SJP. Whoosh and Boom are going to clean it up.
Atomic Boom looks to be venturing on forward because there's plenty of time on the clock for them to try to make this play. Up into the air he goes, and Cool Matt falls.
Oh my goodness, Boom with the big ol' outplay. That flutter there just got lost in translation for Cool Matt. He falls down to Shu. And this is Elevate maybe taking a 4-0 over Onslaught on their map pick.
At this point, when you see Shu just directly outside of those spawn doors, finds a bit of cover under below, but does get punished for it. Another through time and space utilized, and Boom throws that kill onto Skeppy. 42 seconds, a bit of contest, another dome shield with the attempt to push this through. A few shots onto the Vivian, but she's got her protection.
Whoosh, another great dome shield there. The dead zone shuts down all the healing, fluttering up into the air. Cool Matt just trying to stall this one out. It don't matter, Elevate. Capstone there 4-0 on their enemy's map pick. Sorrow, baby, wants to let him know.
A nice, friendly, not so friendly wave to the enemy as it goes from a 4-0 in favor of Onslaught to a 4-0 in favor of Elevate.
That's one of those compositions that looks, you know, yes, it's comfortable for them, but on paper, it's like, well, burst damage does counter these very immobile, high DPS glass cannon backliners. You can see when you take that burst combo from Cassie, or even from Willow for that matter, Willow has just as, if not a slightly stronger burst combo than the Cassie if you can connect it dead on. So when you're seeing that, you know, 15, 16, 1700 damage chunk disappear from your health pool, that's what causes these Victors, these Vivians to be like, do I take this fight? But you have to remain steely when you're playing those characters. You have to just realize that I'm not getting out of this. I got to do as much as I can before I go down.
You can vote in the chat right now for who you thought the MVP was, and it was just an overall great performance from Elevate. Do you think it was the composition that was counteracting, as you were saying, taking care of that backline more than anything else?
Damage. They had so much burst damage, and Shu, he did a great job there. I think there was a couple of easy choices for MVP in that game.
Yeah, but that was game number 2. It's all tied up in this best of 5, so let's send it back over to the desk.
Well, the way things are going, I have absolutely no clue who's going to be able to win this. But one of the things you want to talk about, Nick actually mentioned, it was the burst that Elevate had versus the sustained damage that we saw out of Onslaught.
Well, you see, one of the things I do want to mention quickly before we get into that topic is I think that we've got to change out the Crocs on the top of the desk to flip-flops. I feel that's a little bit more appropriate for this set. And then puns aside, absolutely. I mean, SJP's ability with Impulse Cassie to deliver high burst damage onto these fragile backline targets and outpoke them meant they just couldn't sit there and take sustained fights, which is exactly what the Vivian and the Victor want to do. It paid off very well yesterday because they were playing against either a flank-heavy team where they could have some counterplay potential there, or they were playing into a lot of frontline where your Vivian is going to melt through shields with Sapper rounds, or your Victor's just going to get to free fire because everybody's out of range. SJP on Cassie didn't give them the freedom to be able to do that, and realistically, the lack of double frontline here as well, I feel hurt Onslaught a little bit. The Drogos didn't do enough for me to make it feel worth it.
And it's the same deadly performance that we got to see yesterday out of SJP. When you get this Cassie onto this player, it looks unstoppable, essentially, with the way things were going. It's the reason that we think Flashpoint kind of took a downside. It's because they were trying so hard to pull away that Cassie. Now I'm kind of curious if maybe your bans on the side of Onslaught just instantly become Moji plus Cassie.
Right, and Onslaught did start out by banning Bomb King on this map, so maybe that was a pocket strategy that they've seen from Elevate before. Maybe it just wanted to play into the style of play that they're going for, but I do think you're right. Maybe respect ban's the way to go, Ghoul. What does that bring to the table when you start stripping these things away?
Well, I mean, we're starting to see a couple things Cassie, I think, is the backbone of that, right? A lot of the damage that came out of her set up Willow and it set up Buck to do well. But Buck, during that entire game, actually had a much better performance than what we saw out of Elevate yesterday when they tried to run it.
And I think that's partially because space was being created for Buck, right? Because there was positive damage, positive pressure being implemented or created by damage coming from all sources. That's what you need to allow Buck to do Buck things. Buck play really excels when they have the freedom to just bounce around, be this constant threat, and you have this triple distraction aspect coming through to you. You have damage from Cassie, damage from Willow, and you focus on one or the other. Oh, and then also there's a Buck that you've got to deal with. You're constantly distracting the enemy damage dealers, and that was very effective against damage dealers that aren't able to just turn around and deal this burst damage. They have to deal persistent damage.
Well, the good news for Onslaught right now is that because they won that first game, they've given themselves the opportunity to have the map pick. So they do get to control where they go now. They have a little bit more in terms of their drafting that they can maybe try to play around. But again, Elevate right now, to me, have been showcasing really good flexibility in their draft where they can say, look, this is the time, like, this is the style you're going for. This is what you think we're going to go for. And as long as they can break the mold that we saw with the Grok, they can start pulling away and saying, like, well, we're going to run this triple DPS that's completely different.
So with that in mind, folks, we have already seen a couple of maps come through today. Just Stonekeep in that last game. We're heading off to Ascension Peak next. And this bears a bit of similarity to, it's kind of interesting, right? It's got some similarities to both Stonekeep and Bright March here. It's got a very unique capture objective. It's not the central point that we're used to. It's this big rectangular point, which makes things very interesting here. It's a much more open point than we're used to seeing in some of these more compact fight zones, but it's got the verticality that Stonekeep brings in as well. We see champions like Willow or Drogo's excel, or maybe the Cassie, just end-all be-all.
I'm also surprised to see Console go here. It feels like one of those maps that was banned out a lot by a lot of these teams not wanting to have to deal with it. So Onslaught choosing to go here gives me some, I want to say, like G2 vibes, where it's just, we know this map,
right?
We know we can play this map.
Well, that's part of the strategy, right, Gore, is play in an environment where your enemies aren't familiar with, and that's something which can lead in here. I do also like the fact that Onslaught went immediately for a respect ban Genos, recognizing quite how much that enabled Elevate's composition. Last game, you don't want to deal with that Cassie potentially again, who's hitting for above 700 because of that extra 15% damage bonus. It is just too much to deal with. Elevate have the last ban open. Gore, no Furia ban just yet. Furia could be a first pick for Onslaught here, so they might take that away. We've also seen bans like Khan come out more recently, and even Bomb King as well, so I'm looking to Elevate to maybe throw some spice in here, not necessarily go with what's normal, and they're going to strip away the Buck.
And again, that makes sense to me, specifically because of the map we're on. I feel like you're going into a place that Elevate, based on the way they look and the way they're taking their time with it, might not understand the map quite as well. I think Onslaught have a plan coming into this. They get the Furia, which I'm assuming they wanted, and they've stripped away things that are going to cause them trouble, like the Willow, like the Genos.
Well, you see, I also feel like the Furia is much less telegraphed pick here now that Genos isn't available. Previously, in the game on Stonekeep, Furia was running with, you know, this triple DPS comp into Elevate's triple DPS comp, but the Genos just did too much, right? You had this consistent healing on everybody. Now, Onslaught, they can still run a triple DPS on an even footing with what Elevate can go toe-to-toe with them with. However, they can also run double frontline very effectively here, and if Elevate early pick a support, which I highly doubt they're going to do, they would very much telegraph their play, so Elevate, they'll start by hovering the Khan here. They're also going to go and look for two aggro frontlines right now, which is a very interesting way to address this.
And honestly, if you're looking to try and kill people on the point, I can't think of two better frontlines to do it than Makoa and Khan.
The problem is, Makoa and Khan can be killed on the objective just as easily as they can do the killing, so if Onslaught maybe go into something like, well, they're going to start with Xin here, which to me screams guillotine against this specific composition, and Drogo's. They can look for frontline later at this point, right, Gore? Because frontline's already been taken by Elevate, and Elevate probably aren't going to go for this persistence triple frontline that we have seen in previous metas. So Elevate, they're a little bit stuck here. They have to go heavy damage. They have to go point break because they know that Onslaught can just maybe go into like an Inara Fernando or an Inara Barrack here and just never get off the objective.
I'm kind of curious to see if Onslaught are going to have a better performance. Drogo's last game did not really do it for me, but if it's going to be something kind of follow the scent combustible, shut down the healing, or if we're going to see more Fusillade.
The problem is I think it just gets shut down too easily by Cassie at this point. I'm expecting this to really be, we're going to have area denial on the objective, but primarily we're going to use this to kill the Makoa. That's the big thing for me. Makoa goes into Ancient Rage, you just hit him with the Dragon Punch. That's what it comes down to here. Ultimately, though, I feel like Onslaught right now are almost being backed into a corner. They left these last couple of frontline picks open, but in grabbing Xin and Drogo's, they didn't grab themselves, I'd say, very effective damage dealers. That's the big concern for me right now. They're not grabbing damage dealers that can fend for themselves as well. Xin certainly can, but Drogo's, if they get flanked by Bomb King Cassie, is just going to die, and Terminus Inara, that's not a ton of peel coming out unless this Terminus invests into something like Crush.
There's a lot that Onslaught can do. Again, that can go right, I would say, but there's a lot that can go wrong for him. The last pick is going to be Grover on the side of Elevate, so they have a lot of good healing, a lot of good damage, and they traded out one damage buff for another in Con.
Gore, it's all about execution threshold for me, and right now I feel like Onslaught have the higher one. Elevate just have too much of a safety net, and I'm struggling to find ways in which, if Onslaught doesn't play perfectly, that they come away with a win here.
Well, now's the time to see if they actually can play perfectly or not. Is this Drogo's going to turn on, or is it just going to be exactly what we saw last game? Either way, the only way to find out is jump into game, so let's go to Ascension Peak.
So on a map like Ascension Peak, do you think Onslaught have the advantage because their logo is kind of like a peak and maybe this is their home territory?
You mean Elevate?
Yeah. What did I say?
You said Onslaught, but that's all right. I
Yes,
definitely
Elevate.
agree, and not only because of that logo, definitely a parallel that you have to draw here. Guys, vote in who you think is going to win. I personally am feeling Elevate this time around. I think the momentum is starting to switch a little bit. Like Vox said, I love their composition a lot more. There is so much tankiness innately on this composition, on top of the fact that they have so much just AoE burst sustain. And yes, this Drogos can punish the clumping there, but he is going to be the easiest one to pick. He's going to be the target of those overpowers, I feel. He's going to be the target of the burst damage from SJP. And if Onslaught aren't damn near perfect, they are going to have one hell of a time. They pick up 3 cauterizes early, which I think is something that's needed. I'm very surprised that we don't see Cool Matt go into combustible here.
So far, it has been hella swingy between these teams, 4-0 and 4-0. Maybe this is going to be the one to change it because we don't see that type of play very often on this map. And it looks like Elevate's starting to keep together as they rotate in. They don't want to separate too early, whereas Onslaught are a bit more spread out.
Exactly.
Cool Matt taking too much damage.
That's why I'm like, why aren't you going combustible in this scenario? You can not only spread them out, but you're going to make them take so much more damage, more than one Fusillade rocket would be able to do, on top of the fact that you can commit harder into Follow the Scent and have an innate anti-heal, one of the few that your team would have, the only one that your team could possibly have.
Because of that, Elevate right now getting so many kills under their belt, getting that 51% and climbing onto the objective. SJP and everyone now can spread out a bit more comfortably.
Right.
They send who they need to towards the objective, and they try to catch everybody else off of their mounds, off of their positioning, so that they don't have an opportunity to set up effectively.
Shoutouts to Shu here, being so flexible, playing some Grok, playing some Buck. Now he's on Makoa. Onslaught looked like they had an opportunity to get their feet under them, but again, things are going awry.
Onslaught, this is their last chance to keep this point away from Elevate because it's 99% overtime settles. It's 1-for-1 trade right now, but the frontliners will be back soon enough. Sends out the scout, so SJP gets a bit more vision. Even Grok has to back out of this for the time being. And Onslaught, you're gonna have to stay around this objective now because of that 99%. You can't afford to keep dipping off.
But they have the frontliners to do it, the point front line here. When you're looking at Ascension Peak, look at the size of this capture point. Look at these 2 statues. Natural cover and just size of this objective makes these point fights take longer. It's 2 minutes and 30 on the clock. So these point fight tanks aren't as necessary as they are on some other maps, like those fish markets and those frog
A
isles.
few ultimates coming out right now. Skeppy in pursuit of the enemy healer. A few swings should do it, but there's just too much sustain. Wonderful with the double kill. 4 down on Elevate. Onslaught take this opportunity to capture and prove why they are a threat to this team.
It's one thing to look bad on paper, right? But then you always have the opportunity to look good in practice. Right now, Onslaught, they make a recovery here. The biggest thing, the biggest key for Onslaught is they need to survive until the late game where they can get a bunch of Cauterize online and start dealing with this Grover and this Khan AoE healing.
And Elevate right now should be able to recognize that this is a difficult push, and there are multiple choke points that you can take advantage of, sort of, because you often see the push go all the way to the end, but it takes a while to get there, so you just want to slow it down as much as possible before it gets to that point.
And the vote's swinging to Elevate. I definitely maybe had something to do with that. Ooh, cute little poppy bomb there. Atomic Boom looking for some style points. I will say as well, the ultimate composition, the suite of ultimates, as I like to say, I like for Elevate a lot more. I think they're easier to use, easier to get value for. on a map like Ascension Peak, it's hard to throw people off of the map. So look for those overpowers to come through onto the next highest priority target. That's probably going to be a Drogos or maybe even Skeppy. Whoever's giving them the most trouble, that's who this overpower is going to grab and just give to the slaughter.
Shooter's been getting some long downtown hooks, but Cool Matt managed to once finally punish Elevate for that clustering. You saw 3 or 4 members of them together. You saw Drogos deal that damage, and then suddenly they had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And now Onslaught, a bit under a minute for them to push, but it is that last moment where there's high ground for Elevate to take advantage of directly outside of the spawn that will be difficult for them to push through. Here's one ultimate, the King Bomb.
Oh, Skep, come on.
Well,
Billow, counter.
Yeah. A lot easier of a kill than I think we anticipated.
Zin is the single worst target for a King Bomb in the game. Skeppy should have been able to survive that.
But unfortunately, he did not. And Onslaught, because of that, they get a little bit of an offset. 24 seconds to go. It's getting contested.
Yeah.
That's going to be a swing onto Wonderful. So
Coach Tay is not going to be happy with that one, Skeppy. I'll tell you that right now.
Not so much when you're looking at it, because the distance it takes to get back into the fight, you lose one, you lose that pressure. There's a lot of flank areas that Zin can take advantage of. Yes, he's back in it, but now Cool Matt's down.
Right.
So this is looking more and more just like Elevate's defense.
And if there's anything that Coach Tay hates the most, it's a breakdown of fundamentals, right? She's all about the fundamentals. Use your cooldowns effectively. Make sure you're maintaining awareness of the situation. It's something that, you know, she preaches to the guys before basically every single one of their matches, just so they don't get a big head about themselves, right? They're incredible players. They're very talented. They're very good at all the stylistic things, but sometimes it's easy to forget those basic Paladins fundamentals.
And if you lose track of those, and things can unravel
what do you have left,
quickly.
What do you have left?
But going into this round, let's see, you got all the ultimates except for Inflamed on the side of Onslaught, and even that's at 78%, so it should be long. For Elevate, everything online but the King Bomb, but 49%
I want to peek
that.
at the talents real quickly here, just to make sure that everyone's running pretty standard stuff. He's going to be the Guillotine. That's what I was mostly looking out for from Skeppy. He's gone into the morale boost, and when you do that, that's because you want to slay one of these tanks, and he's the biggest issue for them, so he's going to be the first overpowered.
Early lockdown onto Skeppy, leaves a bit of an opening, but it is the 1-for-1. Atomic Boom eliminated, Seismic Crash, looking for some follow-up, as well as the Whirlwind keeps Elevate alive in the meantime. Ancient Rage, the Inara goes down. Can he go for the support as well? Miracle still staying alive and pretty healthy, but there's the Guillotine to take out Neil. And now Onslaught are pulling ahead in the kills, and that's a double for Skeppy.
The Enflame comes through perfectly timed as well for Miracle. And I'm so surprised that Shu continues to pursue him. She gets like almost 3 seconds of damage immunity during that windup. The whole animation for Furia, she is completely iframed up to the teeth, and she is so hard to take down at that point because not only is she moving faster during the windup, but she continues to move faster after the animation is complete, obviously, because she is able to benefit from her own ultimate.
And it's not like she was alone either, so as soon as she said, help me guys, help me guys!
Yeah, that's kind of what that ultimate says, I think. Miracle, earlier on in this tournament, wasn't getting the peel he needed for it. That has definitely changed, and it's easier for him. He positioned properly as well. Run to your teammates, right? When you need healing, run to your support. When you need peel, run to your front line. When you need help, you got to go towards help just to make that response time a little bit lower.
Especially when you're the single target they're pursuing, then sometimes they don't catch that you're running into the rest of the team, and then before it's a little too late. But Elevate right now on this defense, they're picking up a couple of staggers, under 2 minutes to go, and some of these ultimates getting charged back up. Onslaught.
Oh. That was almost a disengaged kill.
That would have been pretty dope. But as far as damage goes, Drogos, and a lot of it comes to those shots that he was getting when they are clustered, is sitting at the top of the charts.
Yeah, I mean, those salvo spits can be good for 5,000 damage if you make solid contact on a couple of different members from Elevate. Things are starting to slow down a bit at the moment. This isn't exactly a choke point, but it's one of the harder areas to push into because look at this high ground for Atomic Boom and the boys of Elevate. Another Enflame comes through. That's the gas pedal, and 2 kills quickly follow.
They take out the front line, so it makes it much more squishy for you to get through, though even those are kind of difficult. Atomic Boom punishes Skeppy once more. They made a lot of progress after those kills, though. They're past that 60% mark. Now some afforded vision for Elevate to attempt to put themselves in a better position. There's the reanimate.
It caught.
And the shielding coming up. Seismic Crash gets the kill onto Whoosh.
Gabriella, I don't know how that... oh my god, I want to talk about that in a little bit. Maybe we can get a replay on that. There was a lot happening there that was important, but this payload now is starting to inch closer and closer to its final destination here. His Drogo is falling lower and lower, but he gets the shield from Furia, overpowered up into the air. Skeppy's not under any threat at the moment. He just gets released back onto the map. Everyone's whiffing their stuff. What's happening?
Dragon Punch as well. That didn't seem to get much. Here's a Whirlwind. There's an attempt for Elevate to keep that sustain up, but Onslaught are still here and they are ready. But no one's really making the support. Skeppy gets the kill onto Wursh. Should be not too long before he can come back. The Ancient Rage in an attempt to delay this a bit more, but Atomic Boom takes the fall. Trenzy gets punished as well. It's 2 for 1 currently, and Onslaught losing a little bit of steam right there, so Elevate get the defense.
Gabby, that was ugly.
Yeah,
right
that was...
Okay, I want to watch Waterfall here.
That was I fell asleep with my
His
makeup.
reanimate, I don't know why it goes so high there.
It went over.
Normally what would happen there, and this is what I was wondering, if you Shatterfall and die mid-air, then your like Soul Stone thing is mid-air. It stays wherever you die. And you do raise a little bit when you're reanimating, but he dies high enough there to reanimate, and the damage goes over the Khan shield, allowing the Seismic Crash to actually get the kill. It's only 500 damage. That's nothing for a Khan to worry about. But then it gets messy. Everyone whiffs everything. That overpower comes out. He can't get Skeppy off the map. The Dragon Punch whiffs the Khan that would have saved Skeppy's life if he needed saving, but he didn't need saving. He stayed on the map so he could use his Spite onto that Khan. Misses his Spite, and I was just like, goodness gracious, boys. Fundamentals. Fundamentals, Gabby.
But an Inflame to kick things off. This was wonderful in a better position for that kill onto Atomic Boom. Skeppy with the follow-up. SJP, a little bit of punishing here. Wonderful is making his way back in. Dukes it out with Shu, who loses on that side of the battle, too. You see how low they got. SJP ends up falling, but barely getting out of it for Trensic.
You know, I have to say, when Furia came out, Wonderful tweeted, if anyone loses a team fight with Inflame active, they're trash. And I said, I'm going to hold you to this. I'm going to watch every single team fight when you guys have Furia, and I'm going to let you know if you miss one. And so far, Gabby, they have not. They have crushed every single team fight that Inflame has been active.
A man for his word, but no Inflamed right now, so Atomic Boom gets quite a few kills.
He lived.
Everyone down except for the Drogo, so Elevate should be able to catch up pretty decently to that 78% before Onslaught can come back.
And that's not even a ton of ultimates used there from Elevate. They have really good ones coming up. There's one of them, and it does get Skeppy this time. He won't miss twice. Whoosh does go down for his troubles, though. Dragon Punch is ready for the take back, and Onslaught have time.
Everybody else fairly grouped up, and Trensic picks it up onto Atomic Boom. Let's see where this Dragon Punch goes. Does it find someone?
Easy.
It gets it onto Shu. So that 87 to 78% right now. Onslaught just have 3 more to take care of, and they are all way far from the objective.
Ooh.
No line in sight for them to achieve it, so it's 3-2 in favor of Onslaught.
And Inflame is back up for Onslaught. Just a couple more games, and Wonderful can feel good about his Furia tweet. And they've, like, it's been an auto win condition. Much more surprising because that was not the case at our PC event. It simply wasn't. These teams were losing some fights with Inflame. Granted, you have to give some credit to Miracle. There were some bad Inflames on PC. I haven't seen a bad Inflame from Miracle all day, all tournament.
He's not afraid to click that button. I think that's the big thing with it. A little bit of trade back, 2 for 1 right now. Atomic Boom with King Bomb and everything at the ready. Gets the heals up. And there's another kill for him, so...
He can't be allowed to do that, Gabby. Plain and simple. He just walked to the back line and then walked out.
He's had a couple of moments where you think it's going to be a bit messy for him, and then he
He's
just
the boy
gets
who
what he
lived.
wants.
He is the boy who lived right now, in my book.
I don't see any scars on his forehead, but he's definitely channeling that internally. As Onslaught on this push, the last time they were able to get it pretty far because they got the 2 frontliners down at one point, they still weren't able to convert in the end. There goes one frontliner. Don't think they can find the second one, though, as he's nice and healthy. The Shatterfall, duking it out with this Makoa, but a little bit of a wet noodle fight.
Yeah, a little bit. 105 on the clock here. Wonderful's got his ultimate as well. This Makoa looms above him. High ground control is something they need. That's a lot of axe damage swinging through the beautiful treacherous ground to boot.
Sir James Parker could not get out of that situation quick enough. Too much to control him.
Look at these big
But-
boys. Look at these big boys coming in the room. What are you doing, player?
You don't get to see a lot of fights just in the room on this one.
That was just a squad of absolute units coming in that room. The Beef Castles, Khan Makoa, and Bomb King walked up and said, "My high ground now, boy."
Well, hey, assert that dominance in any way that you can.
Oh my goodness. That's terrifying. And then Grover not far behind him. Yeesh.
Just the backup if needed.
This
yeah,
is,
you got it.
It's
fine.
Protect the Princess right now. SJP, top of the damage charts on Cassie again. You can tell he's gotten into his rhythm on this champion. He is neck and neck now with Drogoz. They're separated by an auto attack or two.
Oh, but everybody except for SJP just wiped off. Unfortunately for Onslaught, it is going to be in complete overtime for
big.
the rest of this attempt. Yeah, they have all their ultimates. Are they going to take the risk and try to push this through? Or are they going to accept the fact that it is difficult to have that conversion? Elevate also have a lot of their ultimates. And it was hella messy last time.
Yeah.
So I'd be kind of scared to
10
whip
ultimates
something.
here, Gabby. Boiling point about
There's
to be
one.
reached. Skeppy opens up with the first. There's 2
another.
kills now for Onslaught. Making
Here's
it
the
a
Dragon
third.
Punch. Lots of ultimates on both sides. Atomic Boom gets a kill. Cool Matt and Onslaught get the victory. So they end up taking a risk. It pays off for them, and they finish.
That is it, Gabby. You hit the nail on the head there. That is a big, big risk taken by Onslaught there, but that's the payoff. You get to end the game right then and there. If that doesn't connect, if those ultimates fall flat on their faces, which they have before, we saw it the round prior, then they go into that 3-3 scenario with nothing, no resources, and I think Elevate just stomped them out in a fight like that.
And there is a response on the other end. You heard the spike go off, and then you heard the whirlwind, and then there's a Dragon Punch.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of back and forth. We lost one,
It's
so
2 kills.
let's try and stay alive. But it wasn't enough. Who do you think was the best player in that game?
I have no idea. That time it was really a lot of different people had to come together for that victory for Onslaught. They had a much harder composition, I think, to pull off there. There was a couple of great moments. The lack of hesitation was phenomenal there. They had 2 ultimates to delete frontliners. They both connected, and that was the result of the victory.
I think if you look at that really messy fight that we were talking about, if one player had managed to not be messy, then it'd be like, oh, okay, they're
Yeah.
the MVP because they're the one that didn't mess things
Yeah,
up. But
they all had
they all-
moments where they sucked, and they all had moments where they were great.
that was game number 3. Onslaught's currently up 2-1 within this set. So, Desk, I want to know what you thought of that fight.
The first thing that comes to my mind is that I want a shirt with like Makoa, Bomb King, and I can't remember who the third was, that just says squad of absolute units on it. I would wear that all the time.
I can get behind that. I can definitely get behind that. Can we get some official merchandise coming through, please, folks? That was, for all intents and purposes, that was a messy game. That was a very inconsistent game from both teams right here. A lot of whiffed abilities, a lot of whiffed ultimates. You know, just spiting into your allied in our wall, for example, is not something that you want to do. Overall, though, Onslaught did have the tougher execution threshold, I thought. They still managed to pull it off, and it was partially because of the way that Inflame enabled some of their other ultimate combos.
That was actually one of the things that, if I heard that correctly, okay, Tyler came in and said Tay was MVP, and those drafts really are the MVP, but it's actually going to be Cool Matt throughout all of it. That's the way things have been going, and it's just one of those things, the way he was playing this game, and again, going back to game number 1, the way he's been playing in general, if he goes uncontested, he's going to be comfortable.
Funny enough, when the Drogoz gets to free fire, they do a lot of damage, Gore.
Surprising.
And some of these combos up here are really good to see as well. It's the fire spit into the salvo combo. It's kind of what we've seen plenty of times before. It's just a ton of burst damage. Really hard to react to.
You can see Onslaught there. And I want to say I'm kind of feeling stressed, although it doesn't look like they're all completely there, Skippy specifically. I think all of them, at this point, I mean, you're one game away from being able to take the full thing.
You've got some nerves online. If you mess this one up, you go back to 2-2. If you mess 2 up in a row, you get the full bracket reset. Onslaught in their interview earlier today, when I ran between the desk and the interview room to be able to, catch them real fast and also catch my breath, was the fact that they're pretty confident in the fact that they're not going to lose 2 best-of-5s in a row. But that doesn't mean they're not going to lose at least one, folks. And there is potential for Elevate to pull things back. Elevate, though, so far, they've only succeeded when they're able to run this triple DPS composition.
And even then, it's, I want to say, a little shakier than overall, just because you can see, I think, the combos coming down where Onslaught are recognizing, okay, this is the 3 DPS you want to run, these are the counters to deal with that. You want to try to fit Grok in here because it'll do well. Grok's not going to do too much if we can pick against that. We're going to stop you from letting that be enabled, and you haven't been able to accomplish pretty much anything without him.
So, Gore, coming back to this all then. So far, what have been the major and consistent storylines for you? Because I'm looking at this and I'm going, throughout these sets, it's execution threshold for Onslaught, and will their big players go big? I know this sounds 200 IQ caster comments right now, but like, will Cool Matt be unpressured, for example? Will we see maybe somebody do something crazy off the rails, and will they be safe whilst doing so? Whereas for me, Elevate's been more about, can they just get this consistent teamfight going?
And that's, I think, what a big chunk of it is, right? Cassie is another one to really take a look at because of the way SJP's been playing. It's phenomenal, but it's only so much that one little Cassie can do in the grand scheme of the
Prosper
fights.
syndrome. It's the whole, I'm doing my work, folks. I've got everybody else in my backpack. Where's the pressure coming from in other angles here? And overall, you know what I'm looking towards as the game gets and the set gets further and further? I think that it's not the damage, it's not the support, it's not the front line which is going to make the distance here. It's how the flanks play out. That's the big thing for me. We've already seen Guillotine's in come out a couple of times so far this set. We saw it come out yesterday. Charging ultimate about as fast as Battle Shout comes off cooldown when you have Morale Boost 3 in there as well. That extra charge rate coming through on the Talon itself. That's an impact pick for me right now.
I mean, late game, you hit an ult, kill someone, like one tank dead for free. Get a couple swings, one tank dead for free. Like, you just continue that roll, and I feel like that's a big play. We saw it a lot yesterday. We're seeing it a lot today. If they go for a double front line on the side of Elevate,
just pick Guillotine's
Onslaught
in.
are just going to go ahead and go for the Zen.
And it doesn't really matter if you're playing into, you know, maybe CC immunity from Khan's Battle Shout. As long as you take the Grok off the table, you're okay.
Yeah.
And that's actually been another big storyline. Elevate's success with Grok so far has been kind of critical to them in earlier sets, much less so now. I think the fact that the Tyro was pulled out is a pretty hard counter to that Grok. Kind of dissuades them from doing it again. At this point, I'm wondering if Onslaught can kind of just straight up pick this in and go, you know what, do it. Pick the Grok. We don't care. And if that'll dissuade them from going for more of this point stack heal composition.
Well, it's in that area where Elevate now have showcased a lot of good drafts. They've showed that they do have that ability to navigate through their drafting phase.
I think they have a lot more flexibility than people expected as well. To give Elevate credit, we didn't really see them coming into this doing much more than, we're going to sit on point, we ain't going to move, and then they pull out a solo frontline triple DPS composition that straight up wins Stone Keep very easily.
They swept through that. And that's something that I'm kind of curious about going back to. Again, that felt a lot like Elevate winning the draft, right? Where it was one of those things where you're like, well, looking at what Onslaught have drafted here, unless you play a very specific way, well, you have all of this like glass cannon damage is how
I don't know. I'm a bit ambivalent towards that, actually. I don't think it was Elevate winning the draft. I think it was Elevate winning the execution more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because we saw yesterday quite how handedly Onslaught was able to play this style of composition. Less draft for me, more the fact that SJP is just phenomenal on Cassie, and they had good target focus. That's the big one for me. It's like playing whack-a-mole, right? Every time a damage dealer pops a head out, whether that's Vivian, Victor, or Drogo's, you just smack him back down with a shot and impulse from Cassie, and then they can't risk contesting the fight. They can't risk like peaking again when they're low health, because one more Cassie shot and they're dead to right score. So it's this very tricky situation. It's this mobile whack-a-mole. Elevate have proven themselves to be able to handle that as well. But a lot of these games are being very heavily influenced, at least by the draft right now.
Well, map number 4, Jaguar Falls.
Please show me more Tyra. It's the perfect map for it.
Can win this. They win the whole thing. If Elevate win this, they still keep them on the ropes. They go to the point where they could potentially get a bracket reset. It's a little bit more stressful, I'd say, on the side of Elevate.
You see, Gore, the sky is the limit right here. And Elevate do have first pick, first ban. I'm expecting Onslaught to go the Janus ban here. Elevate can potentially get a Furia online right now. It's going to be a really tricky one overall. If Onslaught ban out Genos and they also ban out maybe the Moji, as that's been consistent for them, it'll be a tricky situation overall. Elevate with a second ban in mind as well. They could first pick the Furia, they give up the Khan, they give up the Makoa. Khan has a lot of intrinsic value on Jaguar Falls as well, just based on the ability for you to just dispose of somebody out of Sunroom. I wouldn't be surprised to see that coming through as a ban, but I'm wondering if they might go more target, more niche here. Maybe look to strip something else away.
Right now, we're at the point again, Onslaught. North American Xbox looking to try and take back their championship, their crown. EU PS4 has been taken down. The only PS4 team to beat an Xbox team was Flashpoint. And so this is crucial for Elevate, but so far they've been doing a pretty good job of keeping up toe-to-toe.
Bank time coming into play, folks. Elevate yet to lock in their next ban. It will be the Buck. And again, this is a really curious one for me. I don't feel like Buck has been impactful enough through the duration of this tournament to really warrant a ban under all these circumstances. It feels like this is very much more a map-specific thing, where Buck can just do things on Jag Falls which he can't do in other areas. And maybe it's high to low ground traversing, maybe it's that surprise factor. Bomb King being taken away, though, from Onslaught. They've done this before. They've not banned away the Grok, which has been very impactful on this compact map previously. So again, this makes me wonder, are Elevate potentially going to risk going into it? But the Genos first pick, they're not even going to bother. They just say, this didn't work out. We know that it can be beaten. We know how it's going to be beaten. So let's go with what did work. Let's get our triple DPS online.
I mean, at this point, as Onslaught, do you let Cassie go through, or do you have to, like, do you pick her here just to make sure that Elevate don't get that combo again?
I think that you can afford to let Cassie go through, but specifically, you can afford to let Cassie go through if you're not going to prioritize and put all of your emphasis on, like, a Victor Vivian.
Yeah.
Again, Cassie, with so much safety, with so many walls in this map, has the ability to peek and poke far better than you'll ever be able to, so let the Cassie go through, don't play into it. Pick picks as well, which are able to pressure out this Cassie. Pick the Willow, where Nightshade and Dead Zone combined, 800 burst damage, no chance of healing, can force her out as well completely. Maybe look for a Xin pick as well. Go for that impact play again.
Wonder if Elevate at this point go Khan, Cassie, and get it. Furia, I completely forgot about Furia. She's still available, still open. So they're going to be going for it. And again, this is something we've seen. 2 healers that do a lot of damage and a lot of healing.
Well, again, we saw this yesterday, but specifically, we saw a lot of console Genos. The previous console Wars LAN back in May. That was when Genos gave himself a 15% damage boost from Luminary. Now you're just buffing up allies. So really, we're looking at, it's quite funny, right? We're looking at Genos to be the consistent throughput healer. Fury is the I heal tank, so I save you. But also, Fury is the frag champion here. Fury is the extra damage. She's the off support under these circumstances, setting up crowd control, setting up damage. I love the fact that Elevate have drafted Xin here as well. I think that that can be very, very effective. It almost dissuades the double frontline that we're seeing out of Onslaught, and also it might force the Inara into Mother's Grace just to avoid being suckered by Spite every time she's available and in play. But also, you know, Elevate are dissuading from picking more backline. They say, well, this Xin is going to pressure out a Victor or a Vivian, something like this. So Onslaught do have the opportunity to leave their last pick open for a secondary damage dealer or support. Maybe a Pip could be useful here, for example. But Elevate specifically, they seem to have a good hold over this draft.
Yeah, this is definitely something that it seems not only that they have practice, but something that they know is going to work well.
Khan's second to last
map.
pick, by the way.
Right, being able to make it through all
Barrack
the way.
too.
I'm surprised Onslaught have decided to lean into that double frontline, like you said, with Xin on the other side. Once you put Khan, you have Genos plus Khan boosting that damage, and Barrack to be able to sit on the point and deal a lot of damage on it. That is a deadly composition from Elevate.
The thing is, Elevate's draft is lacking somewhat in damage, right? It's a similar angle to when they played the Grok alongside the Fury or something like that. They don't have this big burst damage dealer that Onslaught do in terms of the Willow, and you are playing a Barrack into a Willow as well. Willow's entire champion design direction is kill point stack, which is what Elevate are almost going into here. So really this comes down to an execution matter for me from the side of Elevate, where they go, okay, can the Xin distract the Willow long enough for us just to win the objective, right? Can we charge overpower on Khan fast enough for us to be able to take a hold of this? But Onslaught, they're having none of it. They're picking the Vivian again. They're looking for sap rounds right now, Gore, to be able to just straight up deal with these shields and make that a non-factor.
I mean, they're going to be able to burn through it, no problem. They have a lot going forward for them. Real fast, whose draft do you like more?
I like Elevate's draft more here.
Well, Elevate
Straight
have
up.
Vox's vote behind them. It is their map pick, and it is do or die. So if they do not win this one, it's going to be all over. So we have to jump into the game, figure out how it's going to go. Gabby, Nick, take us through it.
Well, Elevate kicked things off with the Genos and the Furia, following up with a very interesting composition.
Yeah, they have a lot of bonus damage across a lot of different cooldowns on 3 different champions. And I like this composition when it's alive, when it's together. But the second you lose that Genos or you lose that Khan, I'm really worried about this unit falling apart.
So it sounds like Vox is leaning more towards Elevate. We want to know what you think in the chat, who's going to take this game. And what about you? Are you also feeling their composition over that of Onslaught?
I'm feeling Onslaught's a little bit more just because I like it on paper, but I really think once one of these pieces is taken out, it's going to be kind of like a Jenga tower and just fall apart.
And also, it was on Jaguar Falls, I believe, with the Vivian, where we saw some really great play yesterday. And if you can repeat that type of performance and everybody else holding up to the standard, then...
And there's no Yomi. It's going to be Guillotine here for SJP, who is going to be responsible for a lot of damage. There isn't a lot of just like in hand doing damage on this Elevate roster. They are going to have to stay together and work as a team to come out on top.
The 1v1 on the sideline goes in the favor of Atomic Boom to kick it off, and SJP follows up with a kill of his own in pursuit of this Makoa. Just one last lash, and he was able to do it for that double kill, get the triple, and that is one way to start off a fight.
Beautiful stuff there. He gets his Luminary, he gets his Battle Shout. It's a pretty close vote here, 63 to 37%. Elevate, despite the votes at home, they're going to take the first team fight out of the gate.
The votes are for sure swaying back and forth considering how much the set has been doing the same. 72% climbing for Elevate. And as far as ultimates go, despite already 89%, unable to complete it right now as Wonderful gets the kill. But geez, Elevate losing a couple right at that 99, leaving Onslaught to take a bit of control.
Gabby, if they were able to keep SJP alive there, I think they win that fight. Now the stagger is coming through on the con. Very late. Boom is going to go down. 99% for Elevate, though. So they will get to dictate the pace of this fight. They will get to force Onslaught to stay on the objective, and that is an advantage.
But that's why Skeppy is putting in the work to try and delay this travel to the objective as much as possible. Shu falls before he can even make it there, and Onslaught captured. That's just great pressure from the line from base to objective.
It's the stagger, it's the dismounts coming through for Onslaught. They do all the little things right there, and they end up coming out on top. That was a great start for Elevate. That's one I would have liked to have seen them capitalize on. Again, if they could have just kept SJP alive there, he would have had his ultimate and maybe 3-4 more auto attacks. That would have been a guaranteed kill on one of these front lines, and Onslaught would have been in trouble.
And now at least they have those ultimates if they need to slow down this push a bit, but you got a whole lot of time for Onslaught to push this through. Here's one ultimate that comes out of the woodwork to try and throw somebody overboard, and it's cool, Matt.
And it's not even throwing people overboard at this point. They're just holding them up in you know, freedom glory, and they're going to just slay them out.
The first time I heard the audio cue for when it's with that skin, like, this is pretty fitting and pretty perfect.
Man, it's funny stuff here. The way that these champions will evolve, will develop. Yes, it feels good to slay a front line with that ultimate, but, you know, kill whoever's giving you trouble. Last game, it was Skeppy. You know, they needed to just take him out. And Zin can be one hell of a pest, right? With the counter, with the billow, with the guillotine giving you a lot of damage immunity. And that's, you know, that's a couple of seconds. That's essentially 4 seconds off of all your other cooldowns once you hit that. And you're getting a guaranteed kill. Let's take a look at the loadout here for SJP, because there is a card that does give CDR to Zin when he gets a kill. And he's got 3 points into his billow there, 60% once he lands it. It's a beautiful way to billow in, use your ultimate, billow out.
But as far as it's going on the defense with this performance of SJP, using that guillotine to completely eliminate Wonderful, even help swing away for that second frontliner, and it's that continued stagger, that continued oppression onto Onslaught, making it difficult for them to actually focus down this objective. Skeppy keeping these Sentinels up, seeing if he can use this damage him to try and burn down, as Khan takes a lot of damage, but refocusing onto the barrack.
It's a lot of damage, especially onto these shields early on. He's got the Sentinels out. Like Fox mentioned yesterday, these puppies are going to recharge off of the damage that they cause. So he could potentially have another set ready to go by the time these are destroyed. Or he dies, because they do obviously go away when Vivian dies. And that's like the only ultimate in the game that works like that. No other ultimate can you get ultimate charge off of the damage from your ultimate.
But right now, you're already at 51%, and you still have them active.
He's rolling, baby.
And I think that in itself, even if they went away right now, you think, I still got 50. I mean, that's still a really great place to be.
I ain't mad at that.
You don't need the 100.
It's like a Ceres following up a lot of in-hand damage off of her ultimates and getting herself back to that 50% mark. You're excited about that, right? So Skeppy has nothing but good things going for him at the moment.
They lose their support right now, though. It is overtime. About 5% left on the docket, and Wonderful. Yeah. He can't do enough on his own, so Elevate get that defense.
That would have been a tough one to pull out there. I think there could have been a little bit more concise target prioritization from Coolmat there. He tried to help Skeppy in a way, but then Skeppy was fine, so then he looked at the support for a little bit, then he looked at the front lines. I think Willow consistently picking a target and just bombarding that area, making it impossible. I think the best area to do that is whoever Wonderful is fighting there. Make his job a little bit easier, make him a little bit more survivable, but at the end there, Onslaught lost their support. That type of extended overtime engagement right at the enemy spawn is very hard to win without your support.
So now it's tied up. That whole round was about 5.5 minutes, so moving on forward. A couple good KDAs so far, a couple streaks on the side of Elevate with some ultimates to boot. Now, last time Onslaught, they really used that stagger and that dismount to help capture. Elevate got a good start. There's it through time and space. That's one way to kick it off. Take out Skeppy. But here's Coolmat on the high ground, lands some shots onto the enemy Khan, but an Ancient Rage as well. No kills just yet on it. does manage to find it onto SJP afterwards.
There it is. Still pretty close on the objective. Inflame will come out here for Onslaught, or excuse me, for Elevate, and they're still struggling to win this one. No Ancient Rage here for the Makoa. They're getting in, they're getting involved. It's a 1-for-1. Skeppy has a lot of work left to do here, but he's not working with a lot in terms of angles.
Both teams were forced to temporarily rotate away from the objective, and it's 2-for-1 currently. Throws down the Warder's Field, throws down the wall. So those two members of Elevate that were ready to rotate in have to rotate back out as Onslaught passed 70%.
Beautiful stuff there. Onslaught able to bounce back against an inflamed Elevate, which is not easy to do. That's Furia's ultimate. Bonus damage and movement speed makes it very easy for you to win a fight, especially when all 5 members of your team are able to get it. A quick 1-2 punch from Atomic Boom, but what does that really accomplish, Gabriella?
This is the awkward amount of time when you're in this push and you're using ultimates to get that kill,
Right.
but there's still so much for Onslaught to be able to recover, so the only real way for that to be beneficial is if you continue this stagger back and forth, but that's so much to execute over time and very unreliable.
If I'm Onslaught, I'm happy that's gone.
Yeah.
Now, because now I know it's pretty slow charging. I know that I can commit on my next team fight and not have to worry about having my legs cut out from under me because of overpower.
I would have waited until they passed that archway where there's still hazard zone to be able to throw Wonderful off the edge, but at that point a lot more time has been burned off the clock. It's even farther for him to get back into the fight, and now with 25% charged up on it currently, you would have to be putting in a lot of work to get it charged back up completely. But Cool Matt into some trouble, gets some heals from his support though, and is able to find an escape.
Elevate trying to stay alive here. That's a hook onto the support, but Wings of Wrath quickly
Bye-bye.
deletes with that hook. Yeah, it did. Whatever the Dredge Anchor accomplished was erased there by Furia's escape. She pops the Inflame as well. Bonus movement speed, damage as well for everyone on the team, but still struggling to find kills.
And this payload has gone nowhere. A bit over a minute to go. You lose Wonderful again. You lose Cool Matt. SJP in a bit of trouble of his own. Does manage to get some shielding, though.
That's this composition, though, Gabby. I think when Elevate are all 5 together and they're working on a common goal, everyone's within arm's reach of each other in case anyone needs help. It is a good composition. It's one that's going to be difficult to break up, to fight into. This Furia as well, she's been very, very liberal with her Inflames. That's charging up incredibly fast. The healing, the damage that is coming through from Shu right now. He has already recharged his Inflame. Every single fight so far has had an Inflame for Elevate.
It's the Furia and the Genos combination together that makes it an endless pool if they do focus in the right direction. And again, Shu being extremely flexible.
I'm getting distracted watching this con gun. Good, we can switch off of it. Just the bald eagle just curling 1,600 pounds.
A bit too much for you. Yeah. That's another thing the first time.
The absolute unit.
Yeah, look at that. That's 400. So that
400,
was
it's 1,600.
Yeah, it's 1,600 pounds.
1645, assuming it's your standard issue
1,600
Olympic bar.
grams.
Oh,
like
is it pounds or?
No, I'm saying
it's got to be pounds. It's a Freedom
look
America
how tiny
skin.
it is. It
We
can't
don't
be
use
pounds.
anything but pounds and feet and inches here, brother.
What kind of material is that for that tiny, tiny weight to be 1,600 pounds?
It's not to scale. What is this? A barbell for ants?
Or they're all just really, really large. Oh, there's some trouble though.
Wait, what? He tried to overpower Cool Matt, but Cool Matt hit him with the flutter, hit him with the finesse. Cool Matt with the swiftness gets himself out of a sticky situation. And my goodness, I don't think Khan knew it hit him at that point.
Looked a bit frazzled right there. And then there's not much you can do at that point. We think, wait, I had this plan in mind. I was going to use his ultimate effectively, and then nothing happened.
Despite every rough game that Elevate has had, SJP's always found a way to look pretty damn good on what he's playing. He's forced to switch gears here, though. He's been top damaged a majority of the day as well. What a performance from him. 11-5 on a guillotine Zin is not the easiest to do because your loadout changes a little bit when you're running guillotine versus a Yomi. Yomi is obviously a little bit more in-hand damage, a little bit more based around the poke. He does, of course, have a lot of Inflame bonus damage, Firing Line bonus damage, Luminary bonus damage, so There is a lot of sources for him to work with here. He has to do this, though. He has to have this type of performance. It's the only source of damage that Elevate is getting.
Another early in flame for Elevate. They want to attempt to get this early access as they did in the first round. Few swings, but the Grover with the whirlwind. SJP goes down. 2 eliminated for Elevate as Onslaught start to bank out some of these ultimates as well. 33% onto the objective. Trensic picks it up onto Atomic Boom, and the Sentinels to boot. Skeppy, same positioning as he did in round 1 to prevent Elevate from accessing this point.
60% and climbing. Onslaught looking for the tournament victory here. The console wars is on the line. Elevate need to make a move in fast. Gabriella, I don't know if they have the legs to go the distance.
They're barely outside of the doors, but they fall before they can get there. So Onslaught get the victory, the LAN championship, and boy, do they feel good about it.
What a return to glory here for Onslaught. They were the favorites at the Spring Console Wars, but they fell short, upset by the biggest underdog at that event, EU's first victory. And I think they come into this one the favorites as well. Not unfamiliar territory for them. They've got a couple of MVPs, a lot of Console Wars victories across them. And it's just all according to plan here for Onslaught.
From their first interview to their last, they were always confident in their play and their abilities to take home this championship. But you have to commend to Elevate. They took 1 game off of them. They were pushing them to just the later fights and everything. But in the end, like you said, when they were together and they were focused, it was great. But Onslaught just managed to disperse them on several occasions.
Great drafts, great moments for Elevate, but I think Onslaught just the better team on the day for me.
And there you go with the celebration. Taking the shirt off of the back of the chair once more. And I think that when...
Look at that class there from Tay, you know?
Yeah.
She waits patiently for her handshake, making sure that everyone feels the sportsmanship coming from this Onslaught squad. Fundamentals.
That's all about it, because you got to see these people time and time again. You don't want to develop a rude reputation or anything.
Absolutely not.
It's also fun when you're not playing and you're celebrating and stuff. You want to be able to hang out with the other teams.
You know, Skeppy's hand fully functioning this time. I'm noting there's some type of brace or cast on Tay's hand. Maybe some blood sacrifice going on a hand for a hand so Skeppy could, you know, play to his full potential this time around. There's nothing that Tay wouldn't do for this squad.
Oh gosh, that's deep. Well, Desk, what
She
kind
goes
of
there.
what kind of work do you think that Onslaught put in for that victory?
The blood magic. I want to know more what's going on with the hand for a hand, how this is working.
Gul will tell you more about that later, but for the time being, let's at least focus on the set.
You're right. Xbox wins, and
It
so
does.
our desk balances out because the blue Joy-Cons, obviously Paladins blue better, but the Xbox better than the PS4.
Okay, I can respect that. And overall, Onslaught did have a really good last game there. I came into this saying that I liked Elevate's draft, I liked how they were playing, but again, they were just lacked in damage throughout that last game, and that really did seem to set them back as we find out that Skeppy is your Game 4 MVP.
With the way things were going, it's actually surprising, I think, to see not Wonderful on Vivian, but still being able to go through a lot of what Skeppy was able to provide was just consistent damage.
We didn't see the Jag. This is always the thing, right? It's Wonderful closes out Jag Falls by playing Ruckus or playing a champion like Ruckus, getting into the backline and just quadra-killing the enemy team. Also, shout out to Transic for killing away triple kills, quadra kills this game. Just going, I'm a Koa, boop, last shot, in we come. Here we go.
Got aggressive, got in the fight.
Again, it's consistencies. It's so consistent with Transic right now. This is part of the power of Onslaught, right? They're able to come in, they're able to perform exactly as expected. Transic is the designated kill stealer.
Are you saying
Sakura.
this 9-0 and 8 slash line I have written down for Trinsic was not earned?
I'm saying that the 9 might have not been quite as earned as you might want it to be.
The 9 was definitely not as earned.
The 0 was impressive.
Very much the confirmer, I guess, is the best way, the
Exactly.
polite way to
and
say
you
it.
always need somebody to do that, right? You want to clean up these kills. You don't want to let some of the pesky little champions around the outside of the game escape, especially not a Genesis or Furia, who, if they stay alive, can power your team back up to full.
So, for that last game, just being able to drive it back, SJP looks phenomenal on Zen, has a pretty good game.
Opens the game with a triple kill.
But what fell apart for them? What really tore apart that first point?
SJP died, folks. That's it.
Yeah.
And everybody ran away. And this actually raises an important part about the way in which Elevate play, is are they putting too much weight on the shoulders of a single player of theirs, and are they not spreading the load quite as evenly? Absolutely not in the draft of that last game. They did put a lot of weight on SJP's shoulders with Cassie in previous ones. If Elevate want to come back into the console wars, find their way to HRX as well. If they want to go big and not go home, they've got to find a way to better spread that load and more evenly participate in all of their fights.
That's definitely one of the bigger issues. Again, you're focusing on SJP doing well, and there were several times where he was able to pull out. I mean, we
We
started
even
the
have a
game with a
background round of
triple
applause
kill.
for SJP as well. It's a good way to go.
I genuinely thought that game was done, like, immediately. I
It
was like, well,
looked like
this is Jack Falls.
It very much looked like it was going to be. And again, the problem comes down to also the fact that you are playing Guillotine Zin. One of the things I did remark in the draft is the fact that this draft for Elevate can work if Zin is able to get into the backline and stop the Willow, whose entire job it is to destroy point stacks, from destroying your Barrack point stack. And ultimately, the Zin spends a lot of time focusing on frontline because you have your Guillotine in there. You want to be able to use this ultimate just to deal with the Inara, deal with just the Makoa maybe. And ultimately, the focus onto the backline wasn't there. This Willow was able to free fire. Colmat did a huge amount of work that last game, as did Skeppy.
Well,
That closes it out.
They dealt with Elevate the way that you would have maybe expected if you were coming into this, being able to put themselves back on top. And we have Onslaught ready for an interview to see how they feel after once again taking the championship.
Well, Onslaught, congratulations on your victory. You are the LAN champs. And, I mean, going from the last LAN where not fully functional, Skeppy, I want to know, how are you feeling then compared to now?
Honestly, it feels great. Coming into an event with an injury is obviously the worst after all that grinding and having something like that happen, and then obviously not winning when you're the favorites is bad, but it feels good. You know, I've been second place the last 2 events, so glad to bring home first again.
NA Xbox has very often been the favorites for these events, and you guys have lived up to those expectations outside of the last couple. So coming into this one, do you feel any more pressure on you to win now, and especially coming into this set now that you have another North American team facing off who has already played a set today, who is already getting a little bit warmed up? Were you guys a little bit nervous to go against them today?
No, not really. I think after yesterday's set, we figured out their strategy, the Grok point stack. We pulled out Tyra, and Tyra countered it really strong, and we felt that was their strongest attribute.
What goes through your head when you guys 4-0 them on their map, and then they 4-0 you guys on your map, when admittedly you guys seem like you have that comfort draft, right? You have that Victor Vivian going on for you. What are the comms like after a loss like that?
The comms were split because obviously it was a map that we wanted to go and we picked the draft that we wanted, but usually our draft consists of a flanker, and we didn't pick that map, and we talked about it in the draft.
You guys did a lot of hovering there.
We did.
Maeve hovered,
Yeah.
all of that. None of that was troll. That was
likely
to happen?
thought. Yeah, we always have a flanker with our 2 DPS because we don't like 3 damages. So, we picked the Victor Vivian because of how good it was before, but we had to calm down after that. Just let the team know that even though that we lost this, we're still going to pull ahead.
On Ascension Peak, there was a lot of back and forth, and I just want to know, how much practice had you had with that map? It was the first time that we got to see it during the entire LAN, so how'd you feel on it?
We feel actually that's a very strong map for us. We love that map. It's very DPS heavy. Flankers are very good on that map. I don't remember if I think we played like 2 tanks there, did we? Mm-hmm. But we're still fans of the map.
Well, it's not going to be the wonderful hat trick for the MVP. Young Skeppy B from the block. Please hoist that trophy, sir. Congratulations on your comeback. Not only full recovery from the hand as well. No permanent damage there, I hope. Congratulations to you. I want to get a couple words from Cool Matt, though, if you could rotate to the front here. And just how is this? Is this your first time competing in a LAN event like this, or have you competed in other games before? How was it for you, man? Because I think you did stellar.
It was fun. It was kind of weird with the aim assist. I felt like it was higher than normal. Typically, like on Xbox, at home, I play in like a really low aim assist. And then so when I was playing the Drogos and the Willow, it was really rough to play on. But like the Victor and like the hit scan was fine.
You looked phenomenal on the Victor, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations as a whole. Onslaught, they're going to be your champions for the console wars. NA Xbox is back on talk. That's going to do it for us here, though, guys. Des, take it away.
Well, they bring back the trophy, the championship, to North America and Xbox, so swinging it away again, region and console.
We'll take it back. Don't you worry about that.
I'm excited for it. I mean, there are going to be more console wars in the future, and the way things are changing for the way the console is going to be played, I'm excited to see these teams and as they evolve and how they get better.
Yeah, I think that consistency will really pull in some more of the higher tier elements we just aren't seeing from them right now. So far, a lot of the console teams, they play into the PCS. and then they play the finals. And that's it, and they have to scrim outside. I think having consistent broadcasts as well will really help them just be able to review their own play and hopefully just overall improve there. But as we take a look at the brackets at the end of the day, folks, we can see that it wasn't sweeps across the board. There were some hard-fought sets, but ultimately Onslaught just had their way with the entire tournament here.
I mean, I think one of the closest ones we saw was actually that first lower bracket match, Vexed and Flashpoint, where it was potentially Flashpoint leaving.
Oh, isn't that always the way with Vexed and Flashpoint, though? We've seen that before right now, where little minimal things can make the difference between seeing a completely different team. And I really hope that Vex sticks with this. I think that they played phenomenally throughout most of this tournament. A couple of little errors there, which if they resolve, they could be a team easily taking this entire thing.
Well, that is it for this weekend. Again, Onslaught are the ones who took that champion. But that's not going to be all that we have going forward
but
with
wait,
it. Again,
there's more?
There's HRX. Console Wars
will
be returning right there, as well as the Paladins World Championship that we'll have going on. There's also going to be an after party.
Which you do not want to miss, Gore. I mean,
absolutely.
I had my first Long Island iced tea at this year's HRX
this
after
year's
party.
HRX?
Absolutely. I don't remember a lot after that, but I can definitely say that I had a good time.
I remember like bumping into you.
We did a lot of dancing. A lot of dancing to close out the day. If you ever want to see Vox dancing, if you want to see Gore dance, oh, you see that regularly enough.
I dance all the time.
If you want to see Gore extra dancing, then you don't want to miss this after party.
There's also bowling. That's
absolutely.
Like but Paladins, not only on Xbox, not only on PS4, but now it's also on the Switch, and it is free. I actually love the way this graphic has the Joy-Con.
It's got the Joy-Con in there. Oh, that's fantastic. That's one of the first times I'm seeing that. That's really pretty.
And Ying's mirror.
Is actually a
little,
Switch.
Yeah, it's the Switch.
You're just flowing it over the fact that I don't have one yet, Gore. Look, I'm going to have
to
start.
There's two right here.
I can't take these. Okay, well, you know, we're just going to put this one down here for the time being, folks. I wonder if it'll fit inside the pocket. But overall, as we have magically it disappear, it's been a phenomenal day, a phenomenal weekend at the Console Wars. I can't wait to see what these players bring back next time. If we'll see any new faces, but overall, what a show.
Well, thank you once again from Vox and myself for watching, from production, from the entire crew here. It's been a phenomenal weekend, and hopefully you'll tune in the next time the Console boys start playing, and hopefully we'll see you at HRX. But until next time, we'll be seeing you.
No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all.